Hey everybody, this is Keith from the lightest side of true crime, and I am chatting with Staxx.
Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today I got Keith. What's up, man? Where did that hitchhiker situation happen? Was it Alaska?
No, that was Jersey. That was here in my state. That was in Jersey.
Oh, it was.
That's where he's at. Yeah, he's a New Jersey person. What happened? It happened a
No,
little bit.
with the girl. When he saved the girl.
That I don't know. Yeah, that I don't remember, to be honest. No idea.
I'm
And there's a few
pretty sure
instances. I mean, there was another fight he got. I think he beat somebody up like in a cornfield or something like that. He said he defended a girl and beat somebody pretty bad there. I think that's why he said he got these scars on his knuckles, from that fight. So there's issues there. I mean, there's some violence there, but it's some childhood. It's a lot of stuff happened. A lot of bad things happened when he was younger, whether he's born that way or some traumatic incidents with his mom. There's some stuff there that he hasn't really talked about too much, at least not publicly. But it's divided. Whether he did it or whether he didn't do it. That was Happy Face Color just trying to call. That was
really?
Keith, yeah, as it hit the pause button. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You said a lot of people reach out to you from the street. Did anybody who is a killer from the streets, like that girl, has anybody hit you up and said, I committed this crime, I don't know what to do, anything like that? Not
to that level. I mean, yeah, there's people who've done, they didn't flat out say this is what I did, but they've done things. Just appreciative more than anything of the people that I have on the show. Not a lot. It's more they're thinking about doing some things. That's usually what not that there's a lot of them. I'd say maybe like 10-ish, something like that. 9, 10 from the top of my head, I would think, that have those urges, like real bad urges, and nowhere to go. No, they don't know what to do. They've most of them sought help, but what are you going to say? I have the urge to eat people. I have urge to kill people. You can't just, where are you going to talk? You can say, hey, mom, can I talk to you for a minute? And you feel bad because what do you do with them? Their brain doesn't work like ours. That's why it pisses me off when people say, another reason why I have a show, well, if I was them, I would do this. You can't, it's hard to do. You can't say that. Your brain is not their brain. You don't have a choice. Like I argue, I wrote a book called The Story of You. If you ever, a show called The Signs of a Psychopath, one of my favorite shows. Season 3, episode 1 is called I Am Strange. This guy named Yu Masaki blew me away. I knew he had Asperger's. He never looked anybody in the eye. Autistic, psychopathic, psychotic, all diagnosed with all kind of things. Had him on my, as soon as I saw the show, I wrote him a letter the next day. He's in Texas. Started communicating back and forth. I was like, I got to write a book, not just about him, but brain abnormalities as a whole. But the more I talked to him, the more I started really diving deep into psychopathy and neurology and talking to neuroscientists and stuff like that, to where I really started questioning people's free will. Like people forget what the court system says. If you're guilty or not by reason of insanity, know what you do is right or wrong. That doesn't matter. They do know what right and wrong is. They just don't have the ability to stop. So which is questions of free will really would come into play. Kind of like somebody with like Tourette's or something, like where you don't have the ability to stop. Like I start my book by saying, if you're in a restaurant and you hear a white guy use a racial slur multiple times, real loud, until a black lady was walking her child behind him, and then he punches her in the throat and she dies. Like, what a sick, evil, racist bastard, right? That's the first thing anybody would say, unless he has Tourette's. Well, there's a form of Tourette's where somebody heavyset walks by, hey, fatso. They can't stop that. They have no control. They don't have free will to stop. The hand motions or leg motion, they don't have, it's all accidental. He killed her accidentally. Not guilty. But you got to realize, is it free will or not free will? Did he have the ability not to do that? No. There's in New York, another true story. A surgeon, delivered a baby, but before he was finished, he carved his initials in a lady's stomach with a knife.
I remember that.
Turned out he had Pick's disease, kind of a shoot of like Alzheimer's, kind of a weird branch of it. By the time all the truth came out, not even the mother wanted him go to jail. Now, there was a settlement with the hospital, I believe, something like that, but even she didn't want him to go to jail because didn't have the free will to stop. He didn't have the free will. So I make an argument in the book and in a lot of my podcast is a lot of these guys, like I said, when they get pushed to that certain point, they can't stop. They don't have the ability to stop themselves. I'm not saying they're not guilty. I'm not saying I'm letting them out of jail. I'm just saying we got to look at it a little differently. Say there's evil people out there, but then there's people with brain abnormalities who do evil things that we need to research a hell of a lot more instead of just judging them as just evil, satanic kind of people. Where, yes, that there's a group of them too, but there's also those with psychopathy and different type of brain abnormalities with tumors and things like that. Another person I wrote in the book, they never know his real name, never gave his real name publicly, started having these pedophile urges with his wife's daughter. It wasn't by birth, his daughter. Well, come to find out, he had a tumor. He took the tumor out, lost all the urges, back to a happy, happy family until it wasn't. Tumor grew back, urges came back. Well, he never had those urges, but the tumor pressed on a certain part of his brain, the amygdala, that caused him to have these urges against his free will, against his nature. It's like almost like a straight man turning gay because something happened. He's like, well, that's not my nature. Or if you're gay, turn to straight, vice versa. So that's what I like to focus on and bring to awareness to the public where they can't stop. Like the Happy Fist killer, like I said, you can sell all you want. You're not going to commit a crime until somebody pisses you off. You don't have the urge to stop.
He killed 8.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of women.
Yeah, and he was one of the few that talk about the crimes on the podcast where he's like, let's do an episode for each victim. I'm like, sure. So I think we doubled up one because one was a pretty short story. But how the day went and his memory, he remembers credit card numbers. I mean, his memory is fascinating. Where he met them, what led up to their death, how he killed them, how he disposed of the body. Like he went into details of everything, absolutely everything. So if you go to the podcast Lighter Side True Crime, you can listen to all that. Not for the faint of heart. He goes into details of. He's like, oh, strangling's not like the movies. Even Amanda Taylor, the selfie killer. He's like, yep, stabbing's not like the movies. It's a whole different story. He's like, I thought I'm going to strangle them, they're going to be dead. That might take 2 or 3 minutes. And he realized how big he is, and he's like, oh, if I just put my fist on the throat and press down on all my body weight, and because strangling wasn't working, they kept waking up, and definitely graphic detail, but it's really what went down.
Does he have remorse? Does he have remorse for what he did?
No, you can't. His brain doesn't allow it. If you have no empathy, you can't have remorse.
Is there a lot of them that don't? Is there any of them that have like tremendous remorse?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like David Berkowitz being a prime example, where when there's some, if you don't have psychopathy, I mean, some people just snap. The Manson guys, Charles and Tex, the same way, where there's not psychopathy. They were just young kids filled with psychedelic drugs. Talking to the most mind-manipulating person probably who ever lived, in Manson, knows how to manipulate people like that, just pure drug addiction, especially hallucinogenic drugs at that point. That's a different story, where those would be more 100% remorseful. Dana Gray's the same way, a female serial killer. I mean, there's a lot that are, but they're the ones who don't have psychopathy. There's other brain abnormalities that they have. Robert Yates was another one. Talking to Robert, it was only about a month or so ago, where he said he didn't kick in until he was at trial. I don't know if it was after the trial or after the verdict or before the verdict, I forget. He said one of the women's mothers, relatives, one of the relatives, I'm not sure what it was, said he forgave him for what he did. I guess a Christian woman, a religious woman, said, I forgive you and I'm praying for you. I hope you get better. For some reason, that hit him in a certain way. It penetrated his heart. And from that broke him. That just made him cry. He was crying with me on the phone. He broke out in tears, just remembering that happened decades ago. But that was the catalyst that kind of broke him. Whether, is he psychopathic? Is it not? I'm not 100% sure with him. He's never been officially, I guess, diagnosed or allowed anybody to do it. But from that incident, every time, it's the few times we talked about the victims, he broke down crying to me. That's somebody who feels empathy. And there's a difference between, it sucks I got caught. That's a whole different story. That's the Keith Jesperson. It was like, you would think he's remorseful to a degree until you realize, no, you got caught. That's why.
Yeah, you would have kept going, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Going. So there's a big difference. Robert Bardo, I've hit him on a few times and I love to ask people about empathy when they're on the podcast too, because if I don't think they can feel it, I'll ask them about it. What does empathy mean to you? Because he was taking classes on empathy at his facility there in California, and it's funny. Well, it's not funny, but they can't give you an answer. If you say like a person with no brain, what's empathy? You say, oh, I can feel the other person's pain. I can take it on. And I feel it myself. I can't get too close because I'll start crying, blah, blah, blah. That they're going to give you a textbook definition of what they've been told empathy is. And that's what Robert Bardo does. That's what anybody with psychopathy will tell you. They'll give you the explanation. Oh, empathy means this. Now Webster's dictionary says that. Now, what does it mean to you? how do you feel? What does it make you feel? And you break down. You can say you're sorry. I don't want to come on the podcast, so I don't want to set the victims. But what does it feel like? They can't do that. It's like I equate it to a realtor selling a house. They can tell you all about the house if they're good. They might not even look at a piece of paper. They might on top of the head tell you about every single room in that house. But if it's my house, if you have a conversation with me about my house versus a realtor, you're getting, this is what it smells like. This is what it is all. So that was a person who can feel empathies like that, explaining it, versus a realtor reading off a piece of paper. That's probably the best way I can explain it. Talking to two different people who can experience empathy for the victims and who can't.
Hey, welcome to the lighter side of true crime with Kai the Hatchet Wielding Hitchhiker and Keith Rovere. Smash, smash, smash.